Hey there, Scorpio. This is your reading for the year of 2016, and this is actually for Scorpios who are born between or on November 2nd to November 11th. So, for all the signs, if you haven't seen one of the other videos for your sign yet, I am splitting them up into three parts, the decans of astrology, more or less, about every 10 days. Uh, so, I'm doing it by thirds. I'm doing this to make the readings a little bit more specific for the year, a little bit more accurate for you. However, you can watch all three videos. I'm sure you'll find other parts of the other videos that resonate with you. But having said that, again, this is for those Scorpios that are born between November 2nd and the 11th. If you weren't born on those dates, you can just check out the description below, and there are links to the other two videos with the dates that would be your birth date. So you have some really great stuff going on. A lot different than the first Scorpio. I'll say that. You have the Seven of Clubs coming up first, which is a card of success. It's a card that brings us success. However, it does say that something is usually missing out. So, one thing that we need to do when we get a Seven of Clubs is, I think you have a nice mix. Number one, you have a nice mix of things going on. So it's like not too much work, not too much love. It's like you got a nice little bit of everything going on in your life this year. I think it'll be rather exciting and probably a lot more fun than the past several years. But this card says, hey, you know what? You might be working a little bit too much, and you might need to take a break and just, focus on something else. So you might need to take a break from work, for example, or you need to focus on your health. Health is a big one when it comes to the Seven of Clubs. You might really need to make sure that you're focusing on your health and not letting it kind of slip with this card, because it does, like I said, it does say you're going to be successful, but it's also like, hey, don't focus only on the success. Make sure you're taking care of other things. And also your family. Sometimes when we get a card like this, we can kind of like ignore our families, and we don't mean to, but we're just so busy with when we get a card like this that everything kind of falls away, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen with this card. But it's also a card of using your mind. Clubs, you have two clubs cards and two very strong clubs cards, the seven, and you have the 10 of clubs coming up as well, which is really like mental. It's all about using your mental energy, coming up with things, figuring stuff out, putting things together. It's like really it's like a mix. Like I say, sometimes like when I get the Jack of Clubs, I'll tell people that means like you need to learn how to mix like spirituality and the business world, mix all these things together. Seven of Clubs can mean a lot of those things as well. Next, you have the Five of Diamonds, which really does say you're going to be rather busy. Five of Diamonds is a card that represents a good time to start any projects you have any ideas for. If you have any hobbies, it's funny, hobbies comes up a lot for Scorpio. I don't know why that is. I don't know if you Scorpios, have a lot of hobbies compared to the other signs, but the word just pops up all the time for Scorpio. So anything you do on the side, keep doing it. I think a lot of that has to do with also the fact that you could turn like a hobby into a business with a card like this. So, and it doesn't matter what that hobby is. It doesn't matter if that means you like to go fishing every day. You could turn that into a business that makes you money. So then you're getting paid to do what you do anyway for fun. I mean, that's when life gets really exciting. And that's the kind of stuff that can happen under the Five of Diamonds, is it really wants you to, go with your ideas. Even no matter how crazy your ideas are during this time, really pay attention to them, because with this card they can be very important and turn into something really nice and great for your whole entire life. Next, you have the Tower in reverse. Yes, this deck I'm using has four of the major Arcana cards from the Tarot in the deck, and the Tower is one of them. But you have it in reverse, which is pretty much the way you want it if you're going to get the Tower card. But the Tower card in reverse is kind of like, avoiding disaster. So, and what I'm getting on this card really is that if last year you were doing something and then you thought that it didn't work out or whatever, it's almost like this year, it might come back together, and you might avoid that disaster of not being able to do whatever that was, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like something's coming back to you, but it's like kind of like rebuilding itself with this card coming in like this. Because usually when the Tower card comes in reverse again, it's like kind of like avoiding disaster and things like that. So it's almost like you have avoided a disaster in the past year, and then it kind of comes about in 2016 with this card. Next, you have the 10 of Clubs. 10 of Clubs is an awesome card. It brings a lot of people to us. So if you need any assistance whatsoever from people, this card can bring a lot of people to you. Traditionally, this card is read as business success and good luck, and even good luck with money and all of that. But again, it can mean other things as well. It can bring a lot of people. Even in love, this card can bring us abundance in love. If you look, like I say, clubs represent the brain. So you could look at each one of those as a different person. So you could find yourself kind of like, having a lot of people who are interested in you this year, and you kind of have like the pick of the litter, and you could really, really have some fun with that, trying to decide, figuring things out, who you want to date. Again, for some reason, don't be afraid also to date a bunch of people. For some reason, society, attaches all sorts of names to people who date around and all this other stuff. However, a card like this comes in and says, how the heck do you know what you want if you don't date a bunch of people? That's this kind of card right here. It's kind of like one of those cards where it's like, you need variety to figure out what you want in the first place. So don't be afraid of that. But this card also, again, if you own a business or are starting a business, great card for that. Great card for starting jobs. If you don't have a job, this card says there's tons of opportunities for you. As I always say with tens, though, they do require you to work, so you have to put the work in. You can't just go apply to like 2 places and expect to get a job. This card wants you to apply to like 30 places. Yeah, that's a lot of work, and yes, that's a challenge. But what's going to end up happening is if you do that, if you put the work in with this card, you get rewarded. So then what happens is you get a ton of job offers all at once, and you can play games like, telling this person that this other person is going to pay you more, and then you can mess with your salary, and you can really end up in a really great position where you end up getting paid more, and you end up in a job that makes you really happy. So the work is really worth it with a card like this. Next, you have the Six of Hearts. So anywhere that you haven't been moving forward in the past year, this card comes in and allows you to move forward. I always say with the Six of Hearts, it's like in the past, before this card comes in, you would have been struggling to move forward in all areas of your life: love, money, finance, doesn't matter, job. You'd put energy out into things and get nothing back, like almost zero back. But now it's like this year, and this is happening for a lot of signs, so this isn't necessarily unique, but now a lot of signs, I think you can put energy into things and you can expect a return on those things. Not necessarily like, in the past where you'd put a lot of energy into something, it wouldn't work. Then you'd put more energy into it, thinking that you just need to be a little perseverant, but then it still wouldn't work. Those days are behind us. We don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. This card also does reward, basically, it rewards kind of like knowledge, being smart on a certain subject in a lot of ways. So if you have a specific knowledge set, you could do really well this year, extra. But on top of that, I will say this too. You have all these clubs cards here, these 2 clubs cards. So I would say if you're looking to move forward in any area of your life, gaining knowledge would be your best thing that you could possibly do to kind of like move forward. So learn everything that you can, and even specialized specialized learning on certain things will really help you out this year. Next, you have the Queen of Hearts, which is Scorpio. I mean, it's a female water sign, but I don't attach sex to my cards, so it doesn't matter if you're male or female. This is you. And the Queen of Hearts is very intuitive, and plus, I will say that I love when people come in as their own sign, like in a reading like this, because it really does put you in a position of strength. It says that really kind of like things are going to go your way because, again, you're present in the reading. That's why that happens. The Queen of Hearts can be a little bit lazy. Even look, on this deck, she's like kind of leaning back. She's not really doing anything. So like watch the laziness thing, the complacency even. What I'm getting is actually that I think you will be successful. Some of you, a good percentage of you, will reach levels of success. So don't allow that, like, don't get into that lazy thing where, if you have a business, you start to get really successful and then you kind of like lean back and allow just stay the same. Always work to kind of go up and up and up. Try to put more work in. Don't get complacent is what this card says. Make sure you're on your toes and you don't allow something to happen. But the Queen of Hearts is a great card for intuition, using your intuition, knowing when things are happening. On a side note, if your mother or a mother-like figure comes in and offers you advice this year, take the advice. Queen of Hearts is a big motherly type advice card, and it does say that you should take any advice you receive from your mother or anybody that you consider, that gives you even like compassionate seeming advice. You'd want to listen to that. Finally, you end on the Ace of Hearts. Amazing. Great way to end. Ace of Hearts is all about new things happening. Like I say every time this card comes up, Ace of Hearts, I always picture like a heart melting and like a fresh heart underneath of it. That's the best way to describe it. So it's almost like a refreshing type of energy that kind of like peels off layers of you and refreshes you in a lot of ways. But it is a card of your problems going away. It's kind of like a fortune after difficulty card, having good things happen to you, kind of like that Six of Hearts, being able to move forward. And it also just makes you feel good. I always say that with the Ace of Hearts is frequently if it comes up like during a weekly reading or something, I always say, you'll probably feel really positive this week. And this card, it's almost impossible not to feel great and to have positive emotions. But it also can be love coming into you. It would be new love, very new, but it would be rather exciting. It would make you feel good as well. But sometimes with the Ace of Hearts, even though it is like, an ace, I still sometimes say that love that comes from an Ace of Hearts is just kind of like, you just always see where it goes, and you just have fun. You shouldn't get too serious about the love that comes off of this card. So if you meet anybody new and they don't seem serious or whatever, just have fun with them, and then like just kind of go with the flow, which you're a water sign, so you'll be good at that, and just allow it to happen, and everything will be great. So thank you so much. You have a really great reading. I think you're gonna have a great year. And also, again, remember, feel free to watch the other two videos for your sign.